Hello, welcome everyone to lecture number 21 of Fundamentals of Computing. This is a continuation to my previous lecture, that is the lecture number 20, which was on the types of operating system, where I have discussed the various types of operating system. Now in this lecture, I'll differentiate these operating system. I'll cover single user versus multi-user operating system, multi-programming versus multitasking, multitasking versus multiprocessing, and operating system characterization by their architecture and intended use. What are the specialized operating system? What is the difference between Unix, Linux and Windows operating system? And lastly, what is the difference between Mac operating system and the Windows operating system? So let's start with the first one. That is, what is the difference between the single user operating system and multi-user operating system? From the figure itself, you see that in the case of a single user, there is only a single user who is using the computer. Whereas in this multi-user means what? More than one users are attached to the system. So what makes a difference? The difference is what? In the case of a single user operating system, it provides a platform for one user at a time, whereas multi-user provides a platform for multiple users at a time. Single user operating system may be single user, single task or single user multitasking operating system that I have already discussed in my previous lecture. It means what? In the case of a single user, single tasking means what? Only the single task will be performed at a given time by the single user. Whereas in the case of a single user multitasking, more than one task can be performed at a given time by the single user. But in the case of a multi-user operating system, what happens? It may be time sharing or multiprocessor system. Time sharing or multiprocessor means what? Maybe more than one processors are there to execute the multiple processes in the system. Time sharing means what? Okay, a single machine is there that can be accessed by user 2, 3, 4 and 5. How this can be accessed? Since the single processor is there, so if user 2 wants to execute, the some slot will be assigned to user 2, then the next slot of CPU will be assigned to user 3, the next slot will be assigned to 4 and 5. This slots duration of a slot is so small that everyone has a feeling that they are executing their jobs by using this system. But actually what happens, the CPU slots have been divided among these users for the execution of their processes. So that is the case of a time sharing operating system. Single user operating system is suitable for personal computers, and the example is the Microsoft Disk operating system. Whereas multi-user operating system is suitable for servers and mainframes. Example is a Unix, Linux, these are the multi-users operating systems. So this is the difference between the single user and the multi-user operating system. Next is, what is the difference between multi-programming and multitasking? So from the figure you see that here in the case of multi-programming, the memory has been partitioned and several jobs has been assigned to these partitions for its execution. Whereas in the case of a multitasking, the different processes like Paint, Excel, email, these are executed by the operating system at a given time. That's why its name is multitasking, means more than one task is to be executed at a given time. Whereas in multi-programming, you have the more number of programs are accommodated into the memory for its execution. So let's see the example of each of them. In case of multi-programming, on Android or iOS and other mobile operating systems on the phone, one can search on Google while sending and receiving text messages on what's the app at one time. This means what? Two programs are in the memory and the CPU is switching between them. This is the case of multi-programming. What will happen in the case of a multitasking? Here you see what the Paint, Excel and email. These are running, the different tasks, these are running simultaneously on the system. Another example is what? Let's take of the mobile phone itself. With multiple apps running in background while the user interacts with another app in the foreground. So this is the difference between the multitasking and multi-programming. Next is, I'll discuss the difference between multitasking and multiprocessing. So multitask means what? More than one task, and multiprocessing means what? More than one processor. What will happen in the case of multitasking? The simultaneous execution of more than one task. Whereas in multiprocessing, we use more than one processor which executes several sets of instructions in parallel. It means here you have more than one processors. Here a single processor is there that is executing the different number, or you can say number of a task simultaneously. In case of multitasking, only one CPU is required, and in case of multiprocessing, more than one CPU is required. In multitasking, only one job is executed at a time, whereas in multiprocessing, since you have a more number of processors, so more number of processes can be executed at a given time. Multitasking will take a moderate amount of time, whereas multiprocessing takes a less time, because tasks can be divided into the subtasks and that can be parallelly executed by assigning it to the different number of processors present in the system. Multitasking is economical, multiprocessing is also economical. Multitasking has more than one number of users. In the case of multiprocessing, that depends. It may have either one or more users. Multiprocessing has a maximum throughput, means its number of jobs that are executed at a given time will be more as compared to the multitasking. Multitasking can be classified as a single user multitasking and multiple user multitasking. Whereas multiprocessing, this can be classified as a symmetric multiprocessing or asymmetric multiprocessing. That depends how they are sharing the memory for its execution of the processes. Multitasking has more than one user task, while multiprocessing, it has one or more than one user task. So this was all about the difference between the multitasking and multiprocessing. Next, I'll discuss the categorization of an operating system depending upon their architecture and intended use. So what are these? Desktop operating system. What is a desktop operating system? From the name itself, it's very clear. Desktop means what? The personal computer. So it is designed for what? It is designed for the PCs, that is the personal computers and the laptops. And it provides a graphical user interface and supports a wide range of applications. Examples of these desktop operating system are Microsoft Windows, Apple, Mac operating system, and various Linux distribution like Ubuntu, Fedora, etc. Another one is the mobile operating system. From the name itself, it's clear that operating system which is run on the mobiles. So these are designed for mobile devices like smartphones and the tablets. Examples of these mobile operating system are Android, that is based on Linux, iOS, this used on the Apple devices, and in some mobile phones we use what the Windows operating system also. Third one is the embedded system. So operating system that has been designed for the embedded devices, that is, it is designed for a specific hardware device or application, and it often with the limited user interface and resource requirements. Examples are real-time operating system, which is used in automotive devices, other applications require immediate responses like your digital watch. These are the examples of the embedded system operating system. So that depends upon on what type of devices we are using. If we are for desktop, we have a Microsoft Windows, Linux, Unix. For mobile devices, we have the Android and iOS. For embedded system, we have the real-time operating systems. There are some specialized operating systems also. These are real-time operating system, network operating system, distributed operating system, and cloud operating system. I've already discussed about the real-time operating system, network operating system, and distributed operating system in my previous lecture. Here I'll just give a brief idea of each of them. So real-time operating system is what? It is designed for a system where strict timing requirements are crucial. They prioritize responsiveness and predictable behavior. Whereas network operating system, it allows multiple computers to communicate, share files and hardware devices with one another. In case of a distributed operating system, it allows multiple computers that are interconnected to each other to manage resources, allowing them to work together as a single system. Whereas in network operating system, you can identify all the computers that are attached with each other or present in the network operating system. Whereas in this collection of computers that represents a single system. That's the difference between the network operating system and the distributed operating system. Cloud operating system, yes, it will do what? It manages virtual machines, servers and other hardware software resources in the cloud. What type of hardware software resources in the cloud? That facilitates accessing cloud-based applications and services through a web browser. Example is what? Your Chrome operating system, NetWise, I operating system. These are the cloud operating systems. So next I'll discuss, you might have heard about the Unix, Linux, Mac, and Windows operating system. So what is the difference between these operating systems? See, there's all, whether it's a Unix, whether it's a Linux, whether it's Windows, whether it's a Mac, all will do the main jobs of the operating system, that is the processor management, memory management, device management, file management, protection and security, and they will provide all these services. But they are different from each other depending upon whether they are single user or multi-user, multi-processing, multitasking, multi-programming. So we will discuss in detail how these popular operating systems are different from each other. So Unix was developed in late 1960 and early 1970 at Bell Labs, whereas Linux is created by Linus Torvald in 1991 and it is developed collaboratively by community of developers, whereas Windows was developed by Microsoft and the first version of the Windows, that is Windows 1.0, was released in 1985. Unix generally it's a proprietary, means it is a licensed, that's why you have to pay for having a Unix operating system, whereas Linux, this is the open source and it's free to use. You may have a Ubuntu, Fedora, CentOS, these are the open source Linux operating system. Apart from that, you can also modify and redistribute it under the terms of the GNU, that is the General Public License. Whereas Windows is also it's a licensed version, you have to pay for it for use, and Microsoft controls the distribution and updates. Unix operating system, it uses a command line interface. Now some of them are GUI, now some versions have these but very less. It is basically a command line interface, whereas Linux, this is the command line interface, but many distribution offer user friendly like GNOME, KDE. I'm using a Ubuntu, it's user friendly because it's a graphical user interface. Windows is purely graphical user interface, and that's why it is user friendly, and because of that it is more popular among the non-technical users. Unix is designed to be stable and secure, suitable for servers and mainframes, whereas Linux, it has a modular design that allows users to load and unload components as needed, so it is highly customizable, whereas Windows are designed for compatibility with the wide range of hardware and software. Unix has a hierarchical file system structure with a single root directory that we call as a UFS file system. Linux is using a hierarchical file system often utilizing ext. File systems are XFS and BTRFS, whereas Windows, this uses a FAT32 and NTFS file systems. Unix has a strong security features including user permission and system integrity, whereas Linux has a robust security features, and Windows has improved the security in recent versions by having the Windows Defender and user account control. So Unix is commonly used in enterprise environments, servers, mainframes for critical application, whereas Linux is widely used in servers, cloud computing, embedded system, and on desktops also. Windows basically used for personal computers and the workstation. So this is the logo for the Linux. A penguin is there, And this diagram shows the evolution of Windows logos. It is started from Windows 1, then we have Windows 3.1, then Windows 95, then Windows XP, Windows Vista, Windows 7, Windows 8, 10, 11, and nowadays it's 12. So this was all about the Unix, Linux and Windows operating system. Another popular operating system you might have heard is the Mac operating system. So what's the difference between this Mac and Windows? Mac is developed by Apple, whereas Windows is developed by Microsoft. Mac operating system is exclusively designed for Apple computers, whereas Windows are designed to run on wide range of personal computers, laptops and servers from various manufacturers. So it offers more hardware flexibility as compared to the Mac operating system. Mac operating system offers a sleek and intuitive user interface that is simple and consistent, whereas Windows offers more customizable interface. Mac operating system has a smaller and more curated software ecosystem that mainly focuses on creative applications and media related tools, whereas Windows has a large and more diverse software library with significant amount of software developed specifically for the platform. Obviously, Mac operating system is costlier than the Windows operating system. Mac operating systems offers ease of use and a cohesive system-wide look and feel, whereas Windows allows users to modify their system settings, install various softwares and even customize the hardware, which is not there with the Mac operating system. You have to purchase the software in the case of a Mac operating system. So that's why it's very costly and its maintenance is also costly. Apple provides support for Mac operating system, whereas Microsoft offers support for Windows. So this was all about the different type of operating system that I have discussed, and I have also discussed the differences between the various types of operating system that was discussed in my previous lectures. I hope now you understand what is the operating system, what is the job of the operating system and what are the different types of operating system which are available in the market. Thank you.